So today we're talking about Huck Finn and whether it was racist or not or that kind of stuff. So first off, a minstrel show was basically just a bunch of white people dressed up in blackface and they were acting like slaves from the North and the South. And they tried to portray them as dumb and inferior to the whites and that kind of stuff. They used their method of talking, like their slang and their accents. And most of the time, women were not usually included in it. But in one of the examples that he gave us, there was one that was included. But that was not common because women still were not viewed as equal either. During that time period, all the information they used during the minstrel shows was considered accurate. But after the Civil Rights Movement, everybody kind of came to a consistent consensus and realized that it was just a racist caricature and none of it was really true.
Okay, and the next question is there anything similar to it today? And we were all talking before it, and we chose like rap and rap culture. And because it shows themselves as like thugs and as gangsters, and they always like want to create negative stereotypes with them, like talking about women and like guns and stuff and drugs. And we thought of some examples like 6ix9ine, Chief Keef, and Lil Pump.
And yeah, the last question on this one is: are there ways our society creates comedy to a detriment of a specific group? Yeah, it's a lot. It's present in a lot of like comedy shows. You can see it a lot in like The Simpsons and The Cleveland Show. Those are very like prominent when it comes to like the stereotypes of certain cultures. And also in like another comedy show, Key and Peele, they appeal to a lot of stereotypes and kind of racist jokes. Like in one, I think they put on whiteface and do stuff like that. Yeah.
So after kind of reading about the shows and the examples and stuff, I think it's important that there needs to be a sensitivity to the line between racism and kind of what's actually true. Like most slaves were not educated, so they weren't like book smart, but that doesn't mean they were inferior to their masters or white people in general. And adding to that, representing culture it's important because we need to be able to preserve that because that's what makes us unique and kind of gives us our identity. But we can't get to the point where culture can be used to damage a specific group of people because that's when the sensitivity needs to come out so we can catch that and stop that. And I think a lot of situations have become prone to being taken out of context in our society today. Not that we're necessarily overly sensitive, we just don't do enough research. Like, for example, at Chipotle, there's like a big news story recently where the manager wouldn't serve three black people. And everybody like took to Twitter and was like, oh, she's racist, and she even got fired for it. But then it came out that those guys had been there multiple times before and had dined and dashed a lot. And so that's why she didn't serve them, but nobody really listened to her because, everybody just immediately jumped to the conclusion that she was being racist. So I don't think society is overly sensitive. I think that they're just almost ignorant to the information. So they're just kind of lazy in what they research, which is kind of a big problem that we need to fix.
All right. Okay. So for Chapter 8, how Chapter 8 kind of compare and contrasts to the minstrel examples. They're very similar in the fact that like kind of the grammar and slang that are used kind of like portray kind of the other people in kind of a uneducated and almost like dumb kind of sense to where they can't like speak properly. But in the other one, Huck, like for Huck, he doesn't really treat Jim as necessarily inferior in the way he talks. He doesn't talk like he's like a child or anything, like how the example kind of treated the other, I think it was Bones, as kind of an inferior, kind of lesser person, and while Huck did not.
And in Chapter 14, the ways that they're similar is like improper grammar, like the way Jim talks and how he structures his sentences. But one difference that I noticed was like when Jim talked, he talked in groups at a time. He talked like a long time at once. I don't know why it stopped. I think it's still going. Okay. Let's just keep going.
Yeah.
So
Witch in the Matrix.
So they what was I saying? Oh yeah. Where Jim Jim like talks in paragraphs at a time while
It's the FBI.
Jim talks in like paragraphs at a time while in the examples the slaves are like talking just a little bit at a time. We're hoping that this hasn't stopped.
It's still recording, but it's
Yeah,
just...
I know. But what if it's just...
All
Let's
right.
just keep going.
Sorry, Mr. Hard, you're just not
Yeah.
going to see our faces for the rest of
Yeah,
this.
we're talking. Hopefully you can hear us. Oh yeah, so he talks like paragraphs at a time, and the examples, they just talk like yes, no, and the accents also are similar to each other in chapter 14 of the examples.
All right, so the next thing is, do the chapters add to the argument that Huck Finn is a racist? And we kind of agreed that we don't think they do. I think Huck definitely had done some racist things.
But so everyone was racist.
Right,
then.
that was just how it was back then, and it's not saying that's right, but that's just how it was. He was raised in a period where racism was tolerated and even encouraged, and not many people were sensitive to it, but we don't think he was a full-on racist because, like shown when he talks to Jim, he treats him almost as an equal, right? I mean, he still thinks that Jim is kind of dumb, but, I mean, Jim is not educated, so that's like a fair assessment, but he doesn't treat Jim like he's necessarily inferior just because he's a slave and he's black. He treats him as a friend almost. And, you know, like I said, it shows that he has racist tendencies, but he's not a full-on racist. The chapters show that that he just treats him like an equal.
Yeah, and Twain, I think they were the reasons like these minstrel scenes were included in the book was because it said in the article like minstrels, the scenes were really popular back then, and I mean it's very common to see something that's popular in a lot of different things, and if you include the popular things, you're gonna get more people to read the stuff. So I think kind of one of the reasons he added these minstrel scenes was so he could kind of put in the most popular things and kind of help like his book and his writing kind of appeal to the popularity of the societies.
Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, okay. They also highlight differences for the thing. They also highlight differences between the two and their different upbringings and backgrounds.
All right. Yeah,
Amen.
that's all.
Goodbye.